Hey, I thought I'd do a quick port review for DW8XL on the Switch. The social media rep was nice enough to give me a copy last night. It weighs in at 15 gigs. Let me see exactly how much space it takes up. Yeah, it takes almost 16 gigs, so you're going to barely be able to fit this on the system memory. So you definitely will need a bigger memory card to use it, but I think that's kind of a non-issue right now. Like, micro SD cards, at least on Amazon, they're on sale like every 2 weeks, so this is definitely the kind of game you'd want to do that on. The load times actually seem pretty quick, but I can't really do much else besides just show the game. Let's get into it. So there's two major things I should mention, and the first one's good news, and the second one can kind of be interpreted as maybe possibly bad news, depending on what your standards are. So I have to go into ambition mode to show this. So the first thing about this game is it includes all of the DLC that's ever been released for this, as far as I know, which is a really strange gesture, especially from Koei Tecmo Japan, where all the games have tons of DLC. It's kind of a miracle that things like not Dynasty Warriors, but Warriors Orochi 4 have such a small amount of DLC. But it's all here, so you can actually just claim these right away. You don't have to go through anything. It has all the DLC as well, so if I back out here, all the DLC missions. You'll have to forgive me, I'm not in the most professional mode right now. I had kind of a busy day. So all the maps are here, so if you're like me, probably 80% of the time I spent playing this game was on this map. So you have access to all that stuff here. I think it also has the costumes as well. Let's go ahead and check that. Yeah, all the costumes are here too. So you've got pretty much everything in the game, which is pretty crazy when you consider that on the Steam version, the DLC is almost never on sale. I think it's been on sale less than a dozen times ever since it came out. And that's almost 6 years now. So the fact that they're giving you this for $40 and it has every piece of content is unprecedented. Ironically, we just had the same thing happen with Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. That has $40, $50 of DLC as well. So once you get into the game, basically the main difference with this between the Vita version is that it has an uncapped frame rate. The Vita one could barely handle 30 FPS. Here, it seems to hang around, maybe, I think I saw some other people do a more detailed analysis than what I have access to with my equipment. I think it was usually hovers around 45 to 50 FPS. If you use a Rage Muso or something, it actually does tank quite a bit. So if that bothers you, then you may want to hold off, but I still think this is actually a pretty good deal regardless. And what's unique about this port versus a lot of the other Muso ports on the Switch is that it actually runs uncapped even in portable mode, which is none of the other games do that. Even Fire Emblem, which is the standard in my opinion for performance in a Muso game on the Switch, that does not run at 60 FPS in portable mode. Here, it actually does attempt to do that. This is actually my first time playing it in docked mode. So let me buff him up a little bit. It seems to be native res. I think if they could, maybe they could just make it so the game would have a dynamic resolution or something, and then maybe it could hit 60 more consistently, but I just got the game last night and there was no patch at all, so they haven't done any kind of update or anything. Alright, so let's do a quick skirmish battle here. It's even got all the music. You had to pay for this stuff too. It's like pretty crazy how much they have in here.
I am the son of the god of war. There is no way I can lose this battle.
You are a fool to come out here alone. You shall fall prey to my tactics.
I will mention one thing that's not really exclusive to this port. It's kind of just the way the Switch is designed. You can actually do the manual Storm Rush a lot easier on this versus like a DualShock controller where the buttons are a lot bigger. Of course, I'm on a DualShock right now and doing the video, but when you're in portable mode, it's actually quite easy to execute.
I accept my defeat.
Here I come.
Do as you please with me.
It actually hasn't felt that weird to go back to this after so many hours in Dynasty Warriors 9 because I did play Warriors Orochi 4 late last year as well, and that's very much this game's pretty much the same movesets.
You come out alone. This ought to be good. I was no match for you. I wish to learn.
So you can see, like, when you do like a Storm Rush or a Rage Muso or something, it actually does drop quite a bit, but it's not that much of an issue.
Impressive. I am honored to call you an ally.
It's nice to have the good English voices back, too. There's always been a lot of things I've very openly despised about this game, but it is still fun to play. And this is actually a rare example of goodwill from Koei, actually giving you the full package. Something they pretty much never do. Pretty much anyone, really. You can't really just single out Koei, just in general. So that's probably not the best way to show it off, but there are people who have done like really detailed frame rate analyses of this game, so you can go check those out. Basically, it doesn't really ever seem to stay at 60 FPS, but during the instances where it does drop, it's usually times where it doesn't matter. Like if you're doing a Rage Muso, like the only real input you have over the character is just holding the button down and moving towards the biggest group of enemies to try to get to the second part of it. Very much the same with the Muso attacks. You don't really have any manual input during those for the most part. And usually, but you know, if you want to continue a combo or something, the frame rate is already recovered. So I think this is actually a really great port. They are charging $40 for it. There is no physical release for it, so unfortunately you're not going to be able to get around the Switch tax, but considering it has every piece of DLC they ever released for this game, remember this game was supported for over a year, I think, after it released. It's actually a pretty good deal overall. You get access to everything. You don't have to really grind to unlock any of it. Anyway, I'm just barely making my deadline here. I don't know if I'll play this on the channel. This is pretty much just for my personal use. He was nice enough to give me this key. He didn't really give me any kind of tasks or anything to do with it. It's pretty much just something I'll be playing privately. I can definitely say from experience it's a lot better than the Vita version. The frame rate is far more consistent, even though it is uncapped. It's definitely not to the point where it's really bad. Like sometimes there are some games that go from like 60 to like 20 and crazy stuff like that. Here it's more like it goes from like maybe 50 to maybe 45 or 40 or 30, which, you know, can make some people feel motion sick and stuff like that. So if that's a problem for you, you probably don't want to bother with this version, but it does run really great in portable mode. You can't really say that for a lot of the other Muso ports on the Switch. So I definitely think it's worth the money, especially if you have not played the game before. If you have played it before, then you're basically just getting a discount on all the DLC, and the DLC is ridiculously overpriced. And like I said, even on Steam, you know, where games are on sale like every week, the DLC is very rarely on sale when the game is. So I think this is actually the best possible purchase you can make for this game overall. Thanks for watching. Peace.